Revenue projections explained on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Wednesday, April 10th, 2013. I'm Sarah Colvin. A great deal of planning and preparation goes into the budget process, something Barnstable's leaders go through every year. The fiscal 2014 budget is coming together. Council's beginning its deliberations on money spending for the next year. Barnstable Director of Finance Mark Milne explains how his staff works with the money we've got and how incoming funds for the next year are estimated.
It's an evolving process. We start with the 10-year forecast, which is presented to the Town Council and School Committee in January at a joint workshop. We evaluate the results from the previous fiscal year and look at the trends and try to identify factors that are affecting each area of our revenue to try to determine whether we're going to see some growth or some retraction in each different category of revenue. So it starts around January, and then it's an evolving process the rest of the budget development cycle, where we'll constantly evaluate additional information as it comes in to see if we can tweak some of those revenue estimates, either upwards or, if they need to be tweaked, either upwards or downwards.
Absolutely, and there are a lot of different factors at play when we look at where the revenue comes from, whether it be from tax levy, excise taxes, et cetera, and obviously all of those kind of evolve at their own pace.
Yes, for example, the motor vehicle excise tax is a tax that's actually generated at the state level. We really have nothing to do with that as far as setting it, and we receive the information from the Registry or Department of Motor Vehicles, and every month we get a list of bills from them, because as people buy new cars every month, they update the registry information, and then it comes to us in a form of a tape, and we issue the bills based on the information provided for them. But every year, January is the biggest one of the year. They send us the largest tape. It includes probably over 50,000 bills, and once we receive that and evaluate the information in there, it's a good indication as to where that particular revenue category is going to go. So fortunately, the good news for us this year is that that bill came in, and it's about 10% higher than what we saw the previous year. So it looks like people are buying new cars again. Positive news in the sense that the economy is picking up and people are buying cars, and it also generates additional tax revenue for the town. So we're actually looking at about a 10% increase in our motor vehicle excise tax revenue for fiscal year 14 based on that. But that's just an example of how every month we have a new piece of information that may come in to help evaluate where certain revenues are trending.
Indeed, and I think one of the most challenging pieces of the puzzle, I would assume, is the state aid portion of it, of course, and that's still unknown. That really you don't know what the state aid portion is going to be until really close to when the budget is getting voted on.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not able to have any information on that until after our budget has been established. That's been expressed to the legislature in the past by communities across the state, that it would be very helpful if they could provide us with some kind of indication as to where state aid is going to be, because everybody's in the middle of town meeting right now, and nobody knows what the state aid is going to be. So it's very frustrating to try to develop a budget based on no information. So the best you can do is try to use the governor's proposal as to where state aid might be, and whether or not you believe that his proposal is going to be successful. Now, what we're doing this year is we're basically level funding state aid. The governor's proposal included over $2 million of additional revenue for Barnstable, but that was predicated on some very significant tax increases, which do not seem to have the support of the legislature at this point in time. The House is supposed to come out with their budget today, so it'll be interesting to see where the House places the state aid figures for communities. And then the Senate, of course, won't come out with their budget until May. Then they'll have a conference committee, and it's well into June, and sometimes it's been as late as July before we even know what we're going to get from the state. So by then, our budget's done. We're working in the new fiscal year. The budget's been passed by the council, and so we're taking a very conservative approach. We're basically level funding state aid. We're not including the numbers from the governor. So But I am feeling positive that we're going to see some growth. And so after we establish our budget for fiscal year 2014, we should have some excess revenues in the form of state aid that will help address issues that didn't get addressed during the budget cycle with the town council.
Indeed. And then there's also things you look at, such as fines, fees, charges for service, et cetera. Are those fairly easy to estimate, or are those ever changing as well?
Yeah, they're ever changing. I mean, they're all based on the level of activities. For example, beach stickers is a big one. We generate over $1 million a year, or close to $1 million a year, from the sale of beach stickers and parking revenues at the various beach facilities. And it's difficult to predict what's going to happen with that, because you have the entire month of June, and which you haven't seen any activity yet on, and that could be a very big month for the town of Barnstable. If the weather's decent, and especially on weekends, if they're sunny and dry, we're probably going to see those beach parking lots full, and which would generate a significant amount of revenue. If it's raining, we're not going to see any revenue. But we have seen pretty consistently the beach sticker sales come in at around 20,000 stickers a year, 20,000 residential stickers being sold. So we're actually contemplating possibly a change in the beach sticker fee as well, to try to create a funding source for the renovation and an improvement program for our various beach facilities throughout the town. Some of that was included in the capital program that was passed by the council last week, and so we're contemplating making a change to the beach sticker fee to see if we could provide some additional resources to address that program. So that's another area that we're looking at possibly some growth in.
Absolutely. But really, I mean, taking a look at all of it as a whole, really, as you said, a lot of moving parts, a lot of ways to estimate. How much does kind of history come into play as you take a look at the budget going forward in terms of changes, state aid, fees, et cetera? Do you obviously, I would assume you take a look at what's happened in past years, estimate versus actual, and kind of move that forward to as you make your calculations for the coming year? Yes,
and that's actually a exercise that is conducted when we do the 10-year forecast, and which is presented to the council in January. We look back at the previous 10 years to see where each category of revenue has trended and try to identify the specific factors that may have played a part in that revenue category either growing or shrinking. And then we try to evaluate, well, how will this go next year then, based on this information? Do we see similar events taking place that might affect this particular category of revenue, like building permits, for example? Now that the economy seems to be taking a little bit of a turn upwards, we may see some more building activity taking place. So, it is looked at over the previous 10 years, and it's interesting to see how some of these trends have developed. And so that's really where we start the whole process.
Barnstable Town Council will meet again on April 25th. They'll continue talks about the capital plan. Airport projects are next up. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.